Yo! What's up, GameLeapers? This is the Jizz, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about the biggest winners and losers of patch 12.2. So in other words, the champions who benefited the most from the changes, and the champions who just really aren't fans of 200 years of experience. So in this video, we'll be talking about 16 champions. Now, 8 of these, so 7 of these were champions who were actually nerfed in 12.2, whereas the other 9 are the champions who were buffed. But knowing these champions is just one thing. Having a clean nutsack, that is another. And trust me guys, when the Jizz says this, Manscaped is the challenger male grooming provider we all need, and that's why the Jizz and GameLeap have teamed up with Manscaped, because we believe that performing on the Rift starts with performing on your testicles. Simple as that. And let me just say that after using the Manscaped Performance Package 4.0 for the last week, which they were kind enough to send to Jizz and the GameLeap team, I feel like a whole new Jizz. The confidence I have just to walk around the house and flop the balls out, it is unreal. So not only do you get the waterproof lawnmower trimmer that reduces grooming accidents thanks to its skin-safe technology, you also get the weed whacker ear and nose trimmer, so if you look like Gragas, it's time to get around it. And you also get some deodorant, a toner for the testicles so you can smell beautiful downstairs, and you also get a very handy travel bag, and also a pair of Manscaped boxer shorts, which I'm currently wearing, but unfortunately can't show you. So to get access to all of these products in the Performance Package 4.0 from Manscaped, guys, use code JIZZ, that's J-I-Z-Z, for 20% off at the checkout, and also free shipping, so check out the Manscaped links down below with the code JIZZ. So starting off, we're going to talk about the big winners of 12.2. So which champions increased the most in win rate over the last couple of days? Well, the first one we have to talk about, this is Yone, and his win rate, as you can see, has gone up by over 1% in the last 48 hours. And the reason for this is because his Q's AD ratio has increased by 5%, and the reason Riot did this, well, there's no good reason. But the justification they're going with is because of the shield bow nerf from 12.1. They think this impacted Yone and Yasuo a heck of a lot, when really it didn't. So for two popular champions, they wanted to buff them again so people keep buying the skins, I guess, probably something like that. But obviously this means Yone is just more of a force, and this might result, in some situations where you wouldn't have got a kill before, you're now getting those kills. So it's not the biggest buff in the world, but for sure it is a buff, and this is why Yone's win rate has gone up over 1%. So if you want to play him in the middle top lane in 12.2, go for it. Now next up, we have a champion whose ultimate is now dealing more damage, and this of course is Samira, who is one of 3 AD carries we're going to talk about today. And for Samira, her win rate has gone up over 1.2%, all because of this change. And this is kind of nice. It's like a complementary change from the buff a couple of patches ago where your ultimate doesn't cost any mana now. And now because of 12.2, it's also dealing more damage with each bullet. This is really, really nice for an all-in champion like Samira. So when you do get into those 2v2s in the bot lane and those 5v5 teammates, for sure you are more of a force and you are getting more kills this patch, as evidenced by the increase in win rate. But ahead of Samira, we have a champion whose passive got change on his ultimate, and this of course is Rengar. And Rengar's win rate, all because of this change in 12.2, has gone up almost 2%. So what Riot did, they made it now so that Rengar can leap to enemies with his next basic attack when he's in camouflage. So it doesn't just have to be in brushes. Now the reason for this is because of the Chemtech Dragon map. Because when those areas around the red buffs turn into camouflage areas, Rengar cannot leap from them. And because on these maps there's no brushes around the red buffs or raptor camps, it's a really big cuck for Rengar. So this change was honestly just necessary. And if there are any Rengar mains in the comments section, let me know how happy you are about this buff from Rito. Now we mentioned Yone at the start of this video in terms of his win rate going up over 1%, but his blood brother, Yasuo, his win rate has actually improved by over double the amount Yone's has. And I guess the reason for this, because the buffs are the same. Yasuo's Q damage is also scaling more of his AD, exactly the same as Yone. So what's the big difference here? Well, I think the difference is the fact that Yasuo is a lot better in the early to mid game. Yone, once he gets to 2-3 items, is unkillable, one of the best late game champions on the Rift. But Yasuo during the laning phase has a lot more kill potential, and during the mid game too. In those team fights with your teammates, you can get off some serious wombo combos, and it also might have something to do with the fact that your tornado is just a little bit safer to use than Yone's whirlwind. Yone of course is propelling himself forward, so into the enemy champions when he's using this. For Yasuo, you can use your tornado as if you're a spellcasting champion. You can stay at range and just poke the enemy champion down with this, and this percentage increase in terms of damage is definitely going to come into play. So Yasuo's win rate 51% since 12.2 at the Rift. Pretty crazy, but not as crazy as this next champion. And it's another mid laner we're going to talk about here. And for this champion, his win rate has increased by over 3%. And this is Veigar. And for Veigar, this patch, what Riot have done, they've decreased your Q's cooldown by a full 1 second. This is huge because this ability is really what Veigar's about. Queuing for stacks so you can scale into the late game and just press your ultimate and win. But what Riot have also done is they've increased the stacks given to you when you kill large monsters and minions. minions. So these of course are the big jungle camps, so we're talking the big raptor, the big wolf, and of course the big krug, and we're also talking about super minions and cannon minions. These are much more prioritized because you're getting an extra stack, and over the course of a game, especially if it goes really long, this is definitely going to add up and increase your damage tenfold, and this is why Vigard's win rate is at 53%, all because of this change. But beating Vigard by a bit of a landslide here is a top laner coming in next, and this is Volibear, whose win rate has improved by almost 4%. And for Volibear, for sure you still have your weaknesses. Compared to other juggernauts, you're pretty squishy. You know, if you're going for some sort of Nash's Tooth Glass Cannon build, like this patch definitely gave you more offensive power, but you're still very squishy, so it's kind of surprising to see this impact. But what happened is this: so your attack damage growth is up by half, and your ease cooldown is also down by 2 seconds. So the attack damage growth is really going to come into play in the late game, but it's still nice for the laning phase, and your ease cooldown is definitely going to be useful at all stages of a game. And because top lane is more of an island these days because of the teleport change, you can't TP to anything but towers in the first 14 minutes. This is crucial for Volibear, and really nice to see his win rate go up by so much, because to be honest, I can't remember the last time Volibear got changed. But ahead of Volibear, another champion whose win rate has improved by around 4%. This is Tristana. Now, whether you're playing Trista in the bot lane or in the mid lane, what happened for Tristana this patch was huge. So what Riot gave you was an extra 41 HP off the rip, so you're now sitting at 600, and the base health regeneration you get is also up to 4, no longer 3.75. So at the start of the laning phase, as you progress during it, you are just more durable, you are harder to kill, and for a strong laner like Tristana, this is just massive. So Tristana is the third best champion in terms of win rate increase for 12.2, but beating her to the second position is another AD carry, and this is Senna. And what Riot have done this patch is give you a slow on your Q. Now, to be honest, I really don't think this is a healthy buff, and for Senna, you can see her pick rate has gone up over 7%, all because, well, I just think lots of people know this just sounds stupidly broken. And because it's also scaling off your bonus AD, so during the late game, once you actually get more attack damage items, this slow is just going to be way too oppressive, and is, as proven by the surge in the win rate department. So Senna is the number 2 biggest increase in win rate for 12.2, but beating her to the number 1 spot is a jungler, and this one makes sense, but to be honest, I didn't expect it to be this impactful. So what Riot did to Nocturne in 12.2 is they increase his base stats, so his health growth up by 10, and his Q is also scaling more of his bonus AD. So the more items you get, the more AD from your runes, your Q, your Dustbringer, which is what you're maxing first, is going to do more damage. This means that if you're playing Nocturne in the jungle, your clear is better, your skirmishing is better, your team fighting is better, your ultimate combo is better, you paranoia, you Q, easy money. And all of this has resulted in Nocturne's win rate, look at this, 4.71%. No way. This was one of the biggest shifts in recent times. But now let's switch it up and talk about, guys, the champions who got nerfed in 12.2 and see how they're going. So first off, we have Tahm Kench, whose win rate has actually dropped by 0.75% here. I mean, he's still close to 52%, he's still a very good champion, but even though Riot gave your Tongue Lash more of a slow, and they also made it so that your ultimate is much better when you use it on an allied champion. Solo lane Tahm Kench in the top lane has struggled a bit because of the thick skin nerf. The fact that you don't get as much grey health as before, unless there are 2 or more visible enemy champions nearby, well, in the top lane it's a 1v1. You're not going to get access to this extra grey health, and this just makes you weaker in the solo lanes. But what's interesting here is if you play Tahm Kench as an AD carry, and you might be like, what on earth are you on about? Well, think about this. Pair Tahm Kench in the bot lane with a fasting Senna, which has been one of the most infamous, I'd call it, combinations in bot lane history. This is definitely back, and this is the sole reason why Tahm Kench's win rate, you can see, is over 56% as an AD carry in this bot lane setup. So definitely consider doing that for 12.2. And another top laner who's going to be playable in 12.2 despite getting nerfed, this is Shen. And to be honest, I really overestimated what was going to happen here, because your Q's damage is dealing less damage based off of the target's maximum HP. And I guess you still have the massive advantage of still having Stand United, which is a global ultimate in a very 1v1 island style top lane at the moment because of the teleport change. This means you can get around the map, of course, and influence it like no one else. But Shen's win rate since 12.2 hit the rift has gone down by 0.37%, but it's still close to 53%. So if you were playing Shen before 12.2, there is no reason to stop playing him now. Now, this might sound weird, but the rest of these champions, guys, so we've got 5 left. All of these, despite getting nerfed, have actually improved in terms of win rate, and we're going to try to figure out why here. Now, for Lulu, her W's cooldown got increased by 1 second. So the Whimsy, the Polymorph, this is on a longer cooldown, but this is only 1 second, remember. And this is why Lulu's win rate hasn't really changed at all. It's gone up 0.04%, so the change, judging by the statistic, doesn't really do much to actually nerf Lulu. So just like Shen, if you were playing or even banning her before 12.2, keep doing it for the next 2 weeks. But next up, we have to talk about Zed. And lots of people, when of course Zed gets buffed or nerfed, they're going to be talking about him because this champion is one of the scariest to to play against, especially in lower elos. So what happened for Zed this patch is that your ultimate is just simply dealing less damage. But here's the thing, the majority of the time still, if you land all 3 shurikens, if you auto attack with a dust blade, the enemy champion, regardless of how tanky they're going to be, is most likely going to die still. So it might look like a massive nerf, 35% drop, but realistically a champion who has been deathmarked and hit by all of Zed's shurikens and abilities and auto attacks and ignite is still going to die. And let's be honest, there is so much damage in the game at the moment, but I think lots of people are overreacting here, and maybe some people who were just playing Zed because they thought he was OP probably aren't playing him anymore, so I guess there's more Zed mains playing him, and this is why his win rate is improved. But next up we have to talk about a very similar champion to Zed, and this is Qiyana, whose win rate, despite getting nerfed, has gone up almost 2%. Now how on earth does this work? Because your brush duration, this is down to 3 seconds, and the base health regeneration you get is also down by half. So during the laning phase you're going to have less sustain. Well, here's the thing, because people probably saw this nerf and stopped playing Qiyana, well maybe this means that just more mains are playing it, and people who know how to actually pilot this champion. So maybe this is why. Let me know in the comments guys about these. Pretty weird stuff, but I guess it kind of makes sense. But another champion who was nerfed this patch has also improved in win rate, and this is a very similar champion to Qiyana and Zed, and this is Talon. So I don't know what it is with these AD assassins in the mid lane or in the jungle, but their win rates have improved despite getting nerfed. And what happened for Talon this patch is that your W is dealing less damage to monsters. So maybe what this has meant is that Talon in the mid lane is getting picked a lot more than actually in the jungle, and you can see his win rate in the jungle has actually gone down by 0.2%. So this is really pushing Talon towards a laning rather than actually playing in the jungle. But the number one champion who's actually improved in terms of win rate, sounds so weird saying that, this is Janna. But to be honest, Janna didn't really get nerfed. It was more of an adjustment, of course, but because of the vast changes that came in, Janna has actually benefited from this. Now in terms of the changes themselves, pretty much every single ability got changed. But what's important for you guys to know at the moment is that those Janna players in Korea are maxing their E first, and at the moment this is seeing a 70% win rate. Because it starts off at 15 seconds, we obviously want this to get lower and lower and lower. Your Q and W are on a flat 12-second cooldown, so there's no real point in maxing these first. So that's really the important point for Janna here. And if there are any Janna mains listening to this video, let me know in the comments exactly what you think and feel about the changes that came in for 12.2 to your favorite champion. But those were the biggest win rate winners and losers, guys. For 12.2, let me know in the comments exactly what you think of any of the changes, especially if you play these champions. And as always, please remember to leave a like down below and also subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of our future daily uploads. And this has been the GameLeap.